Howdy there, my name's Ethan Hardy. I want to talk to you about this rifle here that I have and that I have modified into an 1860 Henry conversion, if you want to put it like that. Let me give you a brief history of the original that inspired this rifle, and that is that near the end of the original Henry rifle's production by the New Haven Arms Company in the mid 1860s, along the time when the King's loading gate patent was given and the 1866 rifle was about to come out, there is some literature that suggests that a number, very small number, of the Henry rifles were fitted with, at minimum, a loading gate and maybe some other modifications like plugging the bottom of the magazine tube or cutting off the follower so that no dust could get in there. Basically just giving it that modern amenity. Now, I can't find any pictures of those original Transitional Henrys as they've come to be known. And there's a number of people who have done a conversion that I've read about online. There isn't any YouTube videos about it though. So I wanted to tell you about this one and how I did this one and why I like it. And to start off with, there is some nostalgic value to this type of rifle, and that is because I used to spend summers with a gunsmith and a steam engine restoring fellow who's a mentor of mine, and his gun that he dragged around with him in his truck and such was it was one of these. It was an 1860 Henry Transitional that he had kind of made out of a Uberti 1866 saddle ring carbine. So it had a round barrel and a barrel band at the end, but otherwise the action was modified to look like Henry, and without a forearm grip on it, from afar, it did resemble one. I thought at the time that it was an absolutely beautiful gun, beautiful handling, beautiful to shoot, especially for a young guy because it didn't have much recoil, but overall it was very aesthetically pleasing. I've looked for a gun to modify into a gun like that for years, finally bit the bullet, and got a brand new one, and that's what this is. This was, I should say, a brand new Uberti Cimarron 1866 Yellow Boy. It's chambered in 3840. I would have preferred 4440, but this is what was available. And let me tell you about what I've done to it and why I've done those things. So first of all, I've taken off the fore end and taken off the brass end cap. I have plugged the dovetail hole where the brass end cap was attached, just so that light doesn't get through. I have modified the brass receiver so that this curve here resembles a Henry, and the extra fixings on the end of the action, the little flanges and such that accepted the fore end, the wooden fore end, have disappeared now. I did that with a belt grinder, files, and finally polishing wheels, and I think it looks quite good. I've also taken off this magazine holder, this little dovetailed piece, and shortened it to close the gap between the magazine and the barrel, and that just gives the illusion that it's kind of like the original Henrys, which had a solid one-piece magazine and barrel that was machined to look like two pieces. Very expensive process, would have been at the time, but this, having no gap, kind of looks like that. Now, the original Henrys also had a very slightly different shape to the receiver right in this area, and they had facets on top instead of kind of these rolled edges, and this area here was octagonal to match the barrel. I haven't modified that on this rifle yet. I may do that at some point, but it hasn't bugged me enough to do that. Now, the reason that I went with a rifle, full 24-inch rifle, as opposed to my mentor's gun, which was a carbine, was mostly just to get this octagonal barrel, which I think overall does look a little bit more right. It would be nice if I didn't have to have this ring here to hold the magazine, so this all was very smooth on the bottom, but at the moment it's a necessary evil. Some other modifications that I've done to this that you can't see is I've slicked up the action a little bit by just loosening the screws that pertain to various springs in the action, and it has made this absolutely buttery smooth to operate. It's It's really amazing, actually. So as far as a practical shooting gun, this is very top of the line. And obviously you could slick up the action on a Henry, but the benefit to this transitional Henry is not only the interesting history, but also you have the advantage of the loading gate. So easy to top off the magazine. You're not going to get dirt in there if I'm dragging around with this in my vehicle, hunting or whatever. It just has that little practical benefit, and obviously the nostalgia value of growing up, at least for a short period of time, being around a rifle that was very similar to this. I think it's aesthetically pleasing, very functional, and as far as the historical accuracy, as I've mentioned, there were some Henry rifles that had the conversion done to them, and so in that way, this rifle, maybe aesthetically from farther away, maybe looks the part, but as far as specifically like having a separate magazine and barrel, well, that's not Henry. But if you look at the patent, which is available online, the picture of it, for an 1866 rifle, Winchester, with the loading gate, the patent does not have the forend on it, and it actually looks very similar to this. So if there was a prototype that was made exactly like the patent, well, then this gun did exist, basically in this form. So in that way, it is historically accurate, or at least there's the potential for it to be. Let me bring the camera over and zoom up on a few portions of this just to show you it a little bit closer. So let's start with this side without the loading gate on it, the more Henry-ish looking side. This particular Uberti Cimarron has some fairly nice wood on it. It has the case hardened aesthetic on the lever as well as the hammer, which I like better than the Henry repeating arms reproduction of the Henry and other reproductions of the 66, because those have blued components here. The case hardening is a really nice touch, I figure. You can see on this side the modified action that swoops into the barrel and the magazine. You can see the pretty much tight gap all the way along right to the end on the magazine. One modification I might like to do at some point is to trim the barrel ever so slightly so that it actually matches the end of the magazine tube, so that it looks like it's one piece like a Henry. I'll flip it over here so you can see the other side with the loading gate on it. And that side of the action there. Show you the elevator, verify there's nothing in the chamber for you on camera. There we go. So that is my little shooting replica of a 1860 Henry transitional-ish, or you could consider it a very early 66, as I mentioned by the patents, without the forearm grip. In any case, this is a really aesthetically pleasing, fun rifle to shoot. Very effective, so smooth. I would take this with me any day. So with all that being said, I hope you learned a little bit and enjoyed a little bit of this video. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Happy shooting. And maybe this will inspire some people to make a rifle like this if you feel so inclined. And if you do, let me know, because I'd be curious. Have a good day.